Welcome back, everyone. This screen should look familiar to you. This obviously is the opening screen of TaxWise. Don't let it bother you if it is not the current tax year. We've talked in previous modules about the basics of I-10s. We've learned how to fill out the W-7. In this, the final module, we're going to talk about the Community Tax Center processes and completion of the required documents and our certifying acceptance agent services. A client who's applying for an I-10 will go into any tax center to get their tax return and their Forms W-7 completed. I want to show you here how this looks in TaxWise because the forms, as you know, in TaxWise always look a little bit different than when they actually print out. You'll see here on this opening screen, this is the field here that looks most familiar to you. But there's a radio button right down here that says apply for an I-10. If your primary taxpayer is applying for an I-10, you're going to check this button. And you'll see you get this little pop-up message that says the return cannot be e-filed. We've talked about this a little bit before. Anytime you have a W-7 that is part of your tax return package, the return must be paper. These returns cannot be electronically filed. But TaxWise just sends you up this lovely little gentle reminder. We go to tax forms, and I'm not going to belabor this. I'm just going to put in some dummy information here. You'll see, of course, that the SSN field remains red. Don't be upset about that. We're going to leave it blank. If you have a spouse who's also applying for an I-10, that field also will be left blank. You do not need to fill in a dummy number or any kind of placeholder for the SSN space. So let me just do a little of this just so we have some data in here. Come on. Of course, when you're watching me is when I make all my mistakes. All right, in this example, we're going to say that Mr. Example is head of household. He is not married, but he does have a dependent child, and whose name is Junior. And let's see. When you have a dependent applicant on a tax return, you don't want to leave this Social Security number field blank. In order for the child tax credit to calculate, you must enter a number in this field. So we're going to use all 9s, and we can, even if you have 5 dependents, all of whom are applying for an I-10, you can use that same 99999 all 9 number for each Social Security field. Just wanted to point that out to you, but it is extremely important. Remember that you must enter numbers for dependents, whereas for primary and spouse, you can leave those fields blank. You will see that TaxWise automatically checks the child tax credit box for you. I also want to show you here that paper, it defaults to paper because TaxWise knows that you're completing a W-7 for this tax return and that you cannot electronically file the return. So once you've filled out the main information sheet, you're going to, you're going to complete your W-2s. You're going to fill in all the other information for your tax return. The final thing you will do is go way down here at the bottom of your tree, and already loaded is going to be a W-7. So you want to bring up your W-7. You'll see here across the top are 3 radio buttons for taxpayer, spouse, and dependent. In this case, we're filling out the W-7 for Mr. Example. And as we talked about, for the primary taxpayer, it's going to be reason code C. Mr. Example is a resident alien who meets the substantial presence test, so he is filing a U.S. tax return. You'll notice here that TaxWise populates for you Mr. Example's name, his address, and his date of birth. So really, all you're going to have to fill out on the W-7 is his last, the country, the foreign country in which he last resided, the country of birth, his gender, and his country of citizenship. His date, you ask him about date of entry, and he tells you that he's been here since January of 1999. You fill that in, and your W-7 is completed. Again, I just wanted to show you, kind of walk you through the steps of how you actually complete the W-7 in TaxWise. As you can see, it's done pretty quickly. Okay, so now I also want to show you this I-10 Guide for Tax Volunteers. This is a resource available to you. It's on the resources page. It too takes you step by step through filling out the W-7, various filing statuses that are available for resident aliens. It goes into a lot more detail than actually we have gone into here. If you're going to be doing a fair number of W-7s, or if this topic particularly interests you, this guide is for you. It is printable, so if you would like your copy of it, then feel free to print that out for yourself. I also want to show you this flyer that is in all of the tax sites. When an I-10 applicant presents themselves at intake, they're going to be given one of these flyers, because the process is they go into any of our tax sites in order to get their tax return and their W-7s completed. Once they have the tax return and the W-7s prepared, signed, dated, and they have their identifying documents all together, then they will go to one of 3 sites. Down at the bottom of this flyer is a map and hours and directions of where they can go to meet with an acceptance agent, or they also may go to the walk-in office at the IRS. They do need to make an appointment in order to go to the IRS office, and this flyer is going to have the phone number to the walk-in office as for where they can call in order to make an appointment. They will then show up at the designated place and time with their tax return, their W-7, and all their identifying documents in hand. Another document I wanted to point out to you is this trifold flyer that hopefully they also have received at intake. And the nice thing about this flyer is in the center panel here is a list of the 13 documents the I-10 unit accepts for I-10 applicants as far as identifying documents. You're not expected to memorize this list. You don't have to know the list. Just remember that it is here, and you can point it out to the client that the list is here. Remind them that their documents must be originals. No photocopies are permitted, have to be the original document. They cannot be expired. This pamphlet also provides a little bit more detail about requirements of the documents, but once again, you don't have to memorize this stuff. Just know have this work as a resource for you so that you can point it out to your client. Once the tax return and W-7s have been prepared, you're going to print two copies of the tax return, one for the client and one for them to file with the I-10 department. If there is a dependent on the return, you're going to scratch through the dummy number, the 999 number that you've entered for the dependents, because we don't want their client to get confused in the future about whether this is actually a valid number. You'll scratch through that dummy number, make sure they understand where everyone needs to sign on the tax return, and make sure that they understand where they are to go. All right, I thank you all so much. The training is completed. You can now move on to the I-10 exam, and I will see you in the tax center. Thank you.